actually think that you are about to be in the company of somebody who is going to be an archetypal icon of change of our time. At least I sincerely hope so anyway. A little bit like he is. A little bit like Albert Einstein and Doctor Who. He is the missing link between psychology, biology and something else that ends with ology, because we all know that if you have an ology, yes, you have everything. So I'd like to welcome to the stage Dr. Bruce Lipton. Thank you very much.
Come on, baby, come on. Baby comes out, looks around. You say to the baby, hey, tell me something. If a good speaker, imagine. Baby looks around and goes, hey, I don't know anything. I just got here. And that's the point. If you have nothing to think about, then you can't be creative. So before the conscious mind can be engaged, you have to download programs first. An empty hard drive doesn't have anything to think about in it, right? So they said, well, wait, when does this programming start? I go, well, wait. Here's a fetus. This is not a petri dish. It looks like a petri dish. It's a womb, which is like a petri dish, okay? I said, why is it relevant? Because I said, the genetics and behavior of this organism are based on the information in the culture medium. Where does the culture medium come from to feed this? The mother. The mother's environment. Why? Because the mother's blood, culture medium, comes up to the placenta, crosses the placenta, and nourishes the child. And when I was teaching in medical school all those years ago, that's all we thought it did. That the mother's job, what is the job of a mother? Well, to eat well, take vitamins and supplements, and to exercise. I go, well, how does that affect the baby? Well, it provides nutrition. I say, is that all the mother does? In those days, it was genetic determinism. What grows a child? The genes. The mother's just an incubator. She just provides the nutrition. That's all we need from the mother. Well, that was the old days when genetics was in charge. The new science is called epigenetics.
Shh, he's completely oblivious. All right, so are you all right to give me some, like big answers? Because I need to impress everybody. Of course, unless the answer is no. And then if you can just look like this, that would be great. And then I know I'm completely on track. I feel like you've stepped into... I want to say this weekend, I want to say yesterday, but of course, with Bruce being so inspirational, I can imagine all of us have that feeling that we've all just really stepped into something. I was incredibly inspired. I felt inspired about the fact that I do Matrix work. I felt really inspired. But I actually feel for you, this has been about a 2-week journey to come to this place. Yeah. And so really, what started 2 weeks ago, and then you finally, and it was almost like this big moment of really thinking, do you know, I'm all right now, and I'm ready now, and I've got it, and I've got this, and I know exactly what I'm doing, and I am so clear on it. And the relaxation that is coming through you, of that heart expansion. You know, anyone sitting next to you, be careful, because you're being nuked by her heart. Seriously, it's like this whirlwind of a heart chakra that is just, I'm sorry, it's an occupational hazard tears, I'm so sorry. But it's like your heart is just, and these are happy tears, so it's all right. They're kind of like, it's coming out, and it's like this whirlwind that it's almost taking up the entire room. So if you're sitting over there, don't worry, you can feel it. You just have found yourself. And I think if in a lifetime we can actually find ourselves and then start bringing that out, and I know this makes me think of Robert's work actually. So Robert's going to be speaking later, and I would just say that you are kind of like the personification of what Robert is likely to be talking about. And if you weren't, you are now. And just note to self, you know, I'm not controlling. So I'm just really, I just want to say congratulations, and I'm really delighted for you. But there's this tiny little voice that goes, what if I lose it again and I can't remember it anymore, and then I'm all alone again in my tiny room? It's just not. That tiny voice, I don't know what you did to it, but that tiny voice, your heart is so loud. That tiny little egoic voice is just... I think it's drowning in the pool outside. If somebody feels any compassion, go with a net. But good.
Never been able to sleep with the light off in her life. We tune into the energy using that other technique. Think about sleeping in the dark. What do you feel? I said, yeah, I got it. So we chase that energy, then where does this go back to? I'm about 7 years old, and we moved into a new house, and I got into the cellar, and there's these doors, and there's all these shadows, and I'm terrified, and she freezes. So we go and we tap on that little girl, and we let her know to go in and turn the light, and she says, oh, it's just some boxes that's creating the shadow. So that memory was resolved. She even turned the light on, no, I'm pretty cool with here now. Where does this go back to? She goes, I'm a dolphin. I'm like, pardon? I'm a dolphin. Oh, okay, great. What's happening with the dolphin? Well, it's in the sea, and it sees all these dark shapes and shadows in the sea. It's really scared. I'm like, okay, let's go with it. It's not for me to judge, about past lives or, animal lives or whatever it might be. It wasn't my job. So, okay, what we're going to do, in my head's going, because normally we leave it to the clients and their echoes what we want to do, but I thought she needed a bit of guidance on this one. I'm like, okay, got it. How about you're a mermaid? And obviously, you can communicate telepathically with the dolphin and be a mermaid. So how about you swim in the sea and you go and tap on that dolphin? And she did that. And you said it was the most beautiful session you've ever saw, Rena. Yeah?
It was the crazy session as well.
Did you get?
I'm surprised that you were. I'll say everyone else.
Yeah. She came in the next morning and said, I slept the lights off last night. So this became the second level, how we can chase our clients' issues back. We resolve echo to echo. Some clients, it's just like a simple phobia. It's really easy, 1 or 2 memories. Long-term disease, you're working with a whole host of beliefs and memories. That's the second level.
Because it's already whole. But we use these techniques and we go to these things to remember our wholeness. It's like it's to remember the divine echo, I guess. The divine memory, the memory of God, the memory of the divinity, the memory of wholeness, which we've never completely forgotten. If we'd completely forgotten it, we'd be shopping today. We wouldn't be at this conference. But we haven't completely forgotten about it. And that's why we do things like this. And that's why we eventually discover our life purpose, which I believe is ultimately to uphold the memory of wholeness for everybody. If we could live in a world where everybody knew there was nothing wrong with them, I honestly believe nothing would go wrong. All right. So, let's have in Hinduism and in India, they have the beings they call the devas. These beings that they call out to in the hope that their crops will grow. These beings that they pray to in the hope that they can bring new life to the earth, that they will have enough, never too much, to get by and feed their family. These beings that they do ceremonies to and hold days for and celebrate. In Islam, they call it the Malaika. In Christianity and Judaism, we call it angels. The Druids believe in the guardian spirits, the spirits of place, the ancestral spirits, the fae, the sprites. If you look at the 4 corners of this world, even in Egypt, they had the winged Isis painted. They had the star ancestors in the Native American tribes. Angels are real and they are tied into our folklore in the 4 corners of the world. They just have a different name. But before we could speak to each side of the world, all of this tradition was alive and real and celebrated and acknowledged. Angels are what we call it because we live in a world that's very Christian and westernized. But angels are actually more than just a word. Angels are real. For me, an angel is a divine expression of universal love coming to us in a personified form for us to create a relationship for it. To keep it simple, an angel is an echo of God's love.
In their imagination, they can see a disease state turning into wellness. So I think of it as, and make an internal picture of illness and turn it into an internal picture of wellness, and do it over and over and over again. So it's illness turned into wellness, illness into wellness. And when people do this over and over again, it's like going, imagining moving your little finger, or imagining playing the notes in the piano. And all they're doing is picturing illness to wellness. And somewhere along the line, what neuroplasticity shows us is somewhere along the line you get a tipping point, where the new pathways in the brain that you create through what you're imagining to be true become stronger and more densely wired than the old patterns of what you used to think was true, i.e. the reality of an illness. And somewhere along the line you get a tipping point. And when that tipping point occurs, the biology of the body begins to shift in the direction of wellness. That's my own theory of how the repetition of visualization has it work. Scientists haven't actually got as far as fully laying down how that works yet. That's my own, based on my own research in that field, that's what I think's happening if you're using a repetitive visualization. I'll give you a few examples, right? The most common visualization used by people with getting chemotherapy is they imagine tumours in the body, and they imagine the chemo drugs is little piranha fish going and nibbling the tumour, and the tumour's getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller till it goes. Smaller and smaller and smaller till it goes. People getting radiotherapy, imagine radiation going choo, 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 like bolts of lightning, cutting down the tumour smaller and smaller and smaller till it's completely gone. People, I remember I have a friend who recovered from a seemingly incurable autoimmune condition. An autoimmune condition is like multiple sclerosis, for example, diabetes 1, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis. It's when the immune system starts to attack the body. And he had a condition called myasthenia gravis that's seemingly incurable. And he was undergoing treatment with steroids. He became friendly with a GP in Scotland who also teaches homeopathy or vibrational medicine. And he started to make some recovery on that. And one day he went along to Pluscarden Abbey in Scotland in Fife, and he listened to these Gregorian chants. And all of a sudden, all of his symptoms just disappeared. But bear in mind, his symptoms, when I first met him, he used to have to hold his face up. Because with myasthenia gravis, the brain chemistry is interfered with, the immune system is attacking the brain chemistry, and you begin to lose muscle control, it affects your respiration. When I first met him, he struggled to breathe, and he used to hold his face up. And here he was listening to these beautiful chants, Gregorian chants. And in the space of about 5 minutes, all of his symptoms just disappeared.